Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. Welcome into the podcast daily from the trophy lobby in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. It's obviously not Wednesday morning. Spoiler alert, we're doing this on Tuesday. That's Bill Landis, Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. And we are Bill and I have been doing the Stock Watch on Wednesdays. Brought Birm in for a little bit of that last week, and he decided at the quarter poll mark, after the non-conference schedule, he wanted to go position by position.
I think that it's maybe a little talked out right now as far as player by player, because we've certainly seen enough of individual guys to know who's ascending and who's perhaps stagnating. Also, the 2021 Sugar Bowl trophy is missing. If anyone's seen that, America.
Here it is.
No, I'm not sure exactly what's happening, but do you know where that trophy went? It's in Coach Day's office.
Oh,
okay.
what a flex.
We
got to the bottom of that in a hurry. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Way to go, America.
You think he swaps it out every day? Today I went the 2003 Fiesta Bowl trophy.
Which one? We'll talk about all that later. We can talk about trophy stock up and down at some point. But yeah, it makes sense, I think, with the pre-conference season out of the way, to talk about where things are just group by group for Ohio State. Because when you're talking about 85 players, sometimes you lose guys in the mix. This is a more comprehensive way to touch every base.
Okay, well, let's drill down. Quarterbacks.
Good.
We can be done with this one pretty quickly, right? Stock up.
I mean, the stock is where I think we all expected it to be. I don't know that it's moved up. I don't think we've seen a whole lot out of the other guys to feel like the entirety of the room is better than it was 3 weeks ago. I think it's about where we expected. I liked what I saw out of Kyle McCord on Saturday against Toledo. He was accurate with the ball. He was decisive. That was a step up from his appearance against Arkansas State, where he looked a little, bored or annoyed. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It was like, hey, why am I in this game now at this point? It's irrelevant. So
yeah, I don't think he was bored. I think he was probably unhappy with the vanilla play calling that he got.
So he got a little more swirl against Toledo. And, and Devin Brown got his first snaps at Ohio State. He now has as many as, Quinn Ewers had in his Ohio State career and more yards. So stock up, I guess.
CJ's been, I think, a little better. The scramble stuff that everyone was asking about on Tuesday, including myself, has expanded his game. But also, I think you can see the arm strength too. That ball was a Mecca, right, on that slant. That was a rocket.
Beautiful.
I think with CJ, I'm just going to jump in and cut you off because that's what we do here on the podcast daily. I
didn't have anything to say. I just think they're good.
Yeah, the difference, I think, is not necessarily that he's showing a willingness to run, because he had 2 carries against Toledo and none in the other game, so whatever. It's the way he's moving around in the pocket, the way he's extending plays and still keeping his eyes downfield. That's the difference, I think, between him from a year ago in week 3 or heading into Big Ten season versus now. So that is certainly stock up if we're going to drill down on him individually.
I think for everyone who wants CJ Stroud to be a factor in the running game, him keeping that and then getting absolutely drilled, I think is a reminder why that's not a good thing for Ohio State.
Yeah, I think it's better if he throws the ball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can all agree.
We got Jerry, Emig, and Mike Bassford are going to come join us. They want to pop in?
No, we're good.
Oh, okay, they're good. Okay, no, they're just leaving. Okay. Well, you can listen to it tomorrow morning and hear your own voice.
You mean today?
Sorry, whenever.
Wednesday.
Yeah, today's definitely Wednesday. I don't know why I keep saying that. Okay, quarterbacks are good. Are the running backs? Where are they?
That's a tougher read, I think. I'm not sure that I would say they're down.
Yeah, what's the designation for between up and down?
They've been.
Nobody knows.
Okay.
They have not been. I mean, I guess
it's like the stock market. It's up to you.
I guess that's exactly how the stock market works. I guess what we'll say is that they have not been as explosive as I anticipated they would be. But especially considering the fact that Jackson Smith and Jigba's basically missed 3 games, and you'd figure they would have leaned a little bit heavier on the running game. On the flip side of that, Dallin Hayden's addition is a win, right? His ability to be ready to go is a win. Travion Henderson's injury, now question mark as we head into the Wisconsin game, is a question mark. So I don't know that I would put him down, but I'm certainly expecting that group to still get better.
I think that's probably where I am too. They've ran pretty hard. The explosive long home runs have not really been there, but mine in particular has brought a physicality to the position that I felt like was lacking at times last year, and they certainly need if they want to run the ball the way they want to when the games are at their most important. So I would say maybe like slightly up because of that, but not nearly maybe to the point that I thought it would be. A lot of room there.
I think it's a volatile stock because you lose Evan Pryor. It's like, oh, well, that's a little bit trouble. Like maybe Chip Trainum has to play running back. And we didn't think that was really necessary. But you add some question marks about the depth at that point. Then Travion Henderson deals with, the injury situation. I feel like, at least for me personally, he's been trying maybe too hard to hit the home runs. And he's down slightly in my mind with the ability to bounce back once he gets healthy. And Mayan Williams has been much better than I anticipated. And Dallin Hayden is far more advanced for a true freshman than I thought he would be. So that part I'd say is slightly up at the moment, but it's sort of skewing every single week.
I think as a group, they're averaging over 6 yards a carry, right? Mm-hmm. So that's pretty good, and it's hard to nitpick that. And then you think about Travion and the way he's been running the ball. He has been running hard, especially the fourth quarter of the Notre Dame game. Ryan Day has mentioned that specifically a few times. He had a couple 30-plus yard runs against Arkansas State where he, did what he had to do, got to the hole and took it. I don't want to – I guess for me with Travion is that his high school tape, and again, high school tape means very little when you get to this level, but it was as good as any high school running back I've ever seen. And so I think maybe there's an expectation that is perhaps too high because, as you mentioned on Tuesday Snap Judgments, like the gap right now between him and Mayan Williams isn't really that grand. And I think, again, as we're trying to figure out which direction to take the stock, that to me is a plus because it means Mayan Williams has elevated his game, and we certainly knew that coming into the season based on just the changes he made to his body, the way that he seemed to be taking seriously the offseason. So I've talked myself into it. It's an up.
It's up.
Okay,
it's
now
up.
it's up.
It's up. Mayan's up. Dallin's up. It's up.
It's up. Wide receivers.
Up. I think like the fact that they've been so explosive without Jackson, like how can it not be? And it's only going to get better. I know nothing about the stock market, so I don't know how you would describe a stock that is already good and is going to increase exponentially.
I believe it's called a blue chip.
I believe it's called Apple.
Whatever it's called. Yeah, that's what this receiver room is. Marvin Harrison Jr. has gotten better week to week. Emeka Ibuka has gotten better week to week. Saw a little bit from Jaden Ballard. Not that I expect him to be like a major piece moving forward, but it's nice to see. Xavier Johnson stepping in and filling a huge role, and then like Jackson is going to be Jackson.
And now Julian's back. Jackson's back. It has to be up. Everything is trending up for that group. I mean, it's been explosive. It's been consistent. It's been reliable. It's not like these new guys are having trouble catching the ball. There's not a bunch of drops. They haven't turned the ball over. There's no fumbles. They're putting up huge numbers. Last week there was 3 receivers with 100 yards, 2 receivers with 100 yards. The week before that, Brian Hartline gets credited as being the country's best wide receivers coach for a reason.
Yeah.
Part of that reason is he has the best players. Part of the reason is that he knows how to get the best out of his players. And
don't you also have to recruit the best players?
Yeah, he has to be the one bringing them in. So, but again, high school means nothing when you get to Ohio State. It's all about how you grow into your spot here. And the biggest thing to me is the continued just maturity of that room and guys that really. You really still only have, Jackson Smith-Njigba is obviously a third-year guy who's played a lot of football, but the rest of those guys, this is all kind of brand new to them. Mm-hmm. And they are taking it in stride and turning into not just, dynamite weapons on the field, but they're leaders in the team. And that's where this group in this room has been for the last 8 years.
Yeah, you can really see Emeka and Marvin getting better week after week, which is a very scary thought for the rest of the country, the rest of the Big Ten, to try and account for moving forward. It's the best wide receivers unit in the country, so I don't think I could say that it's anything but a stock up.
Stock up.
Tight ends, there's no question. That's way up.
Up.
Yep.
Kate Stover,
as
biggest surprise on the team?
If you're talking about one player whose personal stock has raised the most since the preseason started, it's undoubtedly Kate Stover, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but the rest of the room's been good too. And I think the multiple tight end stuff is here to stay as long as those guys keep developing. And there's, different shapes and sizes in there, as we talked about a lot. There's a lot of fun things you can do with that position group that I think doesn't take
Play-Doh.
away. Yeah, Play-Doh.
You can do so many fun things with Play-Doh.
I don't think it takes away from their explosiveness in any way whatsoever. and makes them more versatile, more multiple, harder to defend. It's a really important position for them, more important than I anticipated coming into the season.
You can turn Play-Doh into a taco. You can turn it into a mouse. You can turn it into whatever you want, and that is the Ohio State tight end room. Where
Those
you
are
have,
two very
How did
weird
you pick?
things
How
to
did you pick
choose.
those two things?
I don't know, but think about this Ohio State tight end.
Because you need a couple different flavors of Play-Doh to make a taco.
No, you don't eat the Play-Doh.
Did you ever make a taco shell and like make a mouse and then put the
course
mouse
I
inside
did.
the taco
I've
shell?
had plenty of
And then
mouse
said, look, I
tacos
made
in
a
my
mouse
life.
taco.
Who hasn't had a mouse taco? My point is,
And then they said, we
guys,
thought there might be something wrong with Jeremy.
we're
It's
just
like he's not allowed to play with Play-Doh
we're
anymore.
losing the train of thought here. The train of thought is
What did you expect us to do when you said you turned Play-Doh into a taco and a mouse?
I'm saying you can make Play-Doh into anything. I was just picking two arbitrary things. My point is, when you have a former 5-star wide receiver, a former Mr. Football at safety and linebacker, when you have a former walk-on fullback, when you have a room that you're like, oh, well, let's just pick this part of this guy and this part of this guy, and you've literally turning it's Voltron. You know, it's pretty amazing.
Voltron.
I really yearn for my childhood.
A lot of ways to talk about
Mouse
tight ends.
tacos and Voltron.
I really yearn for my childhood.
That was-
But my point is that room is up, much like Voltron.
They also still haven't had Joe Royer available yet, so they can continue to add to that as they see fit. Buckle up, because time for Bill to talk about the offensive line.
Now we have to do the offensive line in two different sets, right?
No.
I mean, there's pass pro
It's a
and
unit.
run blocking.
No,
right?
it's
Or
a-
we just go
well,
and power the
I think
full
it's all
unit?
it's all one.
You don't like get to evaluate Nike's stock based on what it does for football and what it does for basketball.
That's right.
It's one company.
I don't know anything about stocks either.
But feel free to separate the two when you talk about the offensive
Lift
line.
and separate. That's what I'm here to do. Uplift and separate.
Oh boy.
Like Voltron.
Maybe we should stop doing this in the trophy lobby. There's like laughing gas in here or something. I don't know what's happening.
I think that I would say slightly up for the offensive line. But I thought last week was their most complete game, so I'm feeling pretty good about their trajectory. It was great. I thought in the fourth quarter of the Notre Dame game, whatever against Arkansas State, kind of inconsistent, but much better last week. So I'll buy into that a little bit. I thought DeJuan Jones was excellent. Donovan Jackson seems to be getting better week by week. Luke Whippler's been good. Paris had a really good game pass protecting. So I don't know. It's not. I still think they have a really high ceiling. I'm not sure they're close to that yet, but I think I would buy stock in them right now.
I'd like to see them leaning on people a bit more in the running game. I think the pass protection's been pretty good. CJ's been sacked twice in 3 games, which is where you want. I think twice, once
That
against
sounds
Notre
right.
Dame, and
Yeah.
then I think Arkansas State got him once. Overall, they played 2 pretty good defensive lines. And when you're talking about Toledo and Notre Dame, if you're talking about the Ohio State pre-conference schedule, like individual unit matchups, the defensive lines for Toledo and Notre Dame were probably the best tests they've gotten. So I think that that's a positive, especially as you head into Big Ten play. I love what Luke Whippler does. I think that he's the perfect apex for the Ohio State offensive line. Paris Johnson in pass protection has been just absolutely dynamic, as dynamic as an offensive tackle can be, I guess. And then you have Matt Jones and Donovan Jackson, who I think have been just exactly what you need guards to be. There was some inconsistency, as Bill alluded to, with DeWand in the first game or two, but seemed like moving in the right direction. And the most important thing to me is that you have pretty much established who the next guys are in that group with Josh Fryer, with Enoch Lamahi coming in and playing some key reps. Overall, I'm going to say it's up, but it's not anywhere near where that stock could be by November.
Yeah, I think everything you all said is correct. That's why I view them as a flat stock. That's
a good way.
with
to
I know so many things
with the
about
potential.
We call them stocks.
We call them Austin Stonks Ward.
With the potential to get much better. I don't think they've done anything amazing through 3 weeks. I don't think they've done anything truly terrible either. I just think they've been about what was expected, and it's maybe taken some time for them to tap into the potential that many of us see.
They've been bad about it.
I feel like
And rowdy.
I want to answer this question like after the Wisconsin game.
Okay.
Too late.
That won't really work because that's a conference game. And as Burma's saying, this is a
pre-conference. Stonk
By the
watch.
way, when did pre-conference?
I've
become a
never,
thing that people
I
say?
didn't, I thought we'd
What
taken
would you
enough.
call it? What
It's
would you call it?
non-conference is what it's called.
I mean, it is also pre-conference.
I've just never heard that.
Are you telling me? I mean, but it also makes sense, right?
Sure.
It does work, so I didn't want to be the one to criticize it.
Look, we're all on the same page here. It works perfectly, and we should use that term from now on.
Yeah, we call it mouse taco season.
Mouse taco.
Okay.
Defensive line.
Are we separating tackles and ends or no?
I think we have to, but I was also told we weren't
No,
separating
it's
pass
one.
and run.
It's one unit
I think the
heading into the post non-conference season.
The post non-conference, the post pre-conference. I think I'd probably say flat then, because I think the defensive tackle play outside of Michael Hall brings it down a little bit. For as good as Mike Hall has been, and he's been probably their best defensive player, I just don't know if the rest of that unit, tackle specifically, has been maybe what we think it needs to be. And the ends have been pretty good. So I don't know. Maybe it should be like slightly elevated from flat, but I think the tackle play brings it down quite a bit.
I'm going to say flat, because even as good as the first 3 or 4 ends have been, they're not putting up a lot of numbers. They're causing havoc. They're making things happen. But at some point, you have to take that next step to be a great defensive line. You have to get to the quarterback. And the defensive tackle in Michael Hall is the one that's getting to the quarterback more than anyone else. And he's only played 2 games. So, and really 1 game total if you're talking snaps. So, I love what I've seen out of JT Tuimoloau. I love what I've seen out of Jack Sawyer. I'm still bullish. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
On Zach Harrison.
Well, finish your thought, then we'll tell you.
on Zach Harrison, I think he's been impactful. There are other guys who were behind them that I think have kept the unit flat. So I'm going to say flat. And with the disclaimer that as you head into conference play, if the Buckeyes are going to be their best, I think Tyleik Williams, Michael Hall, Caden Curry all need to be very involved in the rotation moving forward.
I think based on the expectations and the production that this stock is down right now.
Womp womp.
Not flat. And I think that would be a good time to buy it cheaply before it bounces back in a big way, because eventually JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer are going to break somebody in half.
Maybe together.
Could be.
You take one leg, I'll take the other.
One goes high, one goes low.
Lift and separate.
Lift and separate.
Uplift and separate. We're in edification formation.
And maybe it's just longer cleats that they need to get to the quarterback and tear them into.
I think there's a cleat problem.
But I think that's going to happen. Everyone who listens to the podcast knows how I feel about the defensive line rotation.
Do you want to tell us again?
No, I don't want to. But
Clarity's sake?
There are too many guys playing too many reps who should not be on the field for Ohio State. And that is dragging down the value of the Rushman stock right now. If you're looking at RUSH, it's right here right now. And it can get better in a hurry. And I expect that it will, especially when you add Mike Hall back in after his absence against Toledo. But it's going to be up to the guy who coaches that position to lead that turnaround. And I hope that we don't have to keep having the exact same conversation about the guys on the field and in pressure situations.
I think we're past the point of the season where loyalty snaps matter, and you just got to play the best guys. And, I think Jim Knowles will be in charge of that moving forward. I think he's been more hands-on with that than previous defensive coordinators have been here at Ohio State in the last decade or so. So you say down, I say flat.
Yeah.
You say flat.
Don't
let him talk you into down.
No, he's not. I think you made really good points, and it's hard for me because I think the top guys have been very good. Like if we're just talking the top line guys, I think I'm probably up, but I think it's fair to put them down. I'm flat, but I think down's fair.
Okay, linebackers.
Up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's been outside of Cade Stover and the tight end.
That's what we should have done. We should have all right, put the position in. You have to put your thumb up or down.
Like if we just held him behind our backs?
Yeah, next time we'll do that.
Okay, next
Shoot.
time. After the next 3 games, we'll do that.
Okay.
We like
the mid-con.
That's right. That's the mid-conference schedule. Boy, Tommy Eichenberg might be the single most improved player on the entire roster from a year ago at this time. Steel Chambers has been good and reliable and consistent. I think Cody Simons, as we talked about this last week on this specific show, was that Cody Simon taking away a lot of reps from Steel Chambers is not something I would have anticipated 3 weeks ago. So when you look at that and the way they're playing, up.
Can't argue it.
No. My only thing with that position is Jim Knowles did not give a particularly glowing endorsement of the depth last week with C.J. Hicks and I guess Chip Trainum in there.
Paulier was in there. Chip didn't come back in after the hip.
I was just being more about how he kind of talked about how it's hard to get those guys in the mix. Yeah, which is a ringing endorsement, I guess, of Tommy Steele and Cody. But I thought maybe those guys would be closer to pushing for time than they appear to be. But it's still up no matter what.
Yeah, it is. There's nothing more to add about that. Defensive backs. I know that it's a safety-driven defense, so maybe this time, we will separate.
We have to uplift and separate in the secondary.
As soon as I said it, I was about to say, yes, we can separate them because we know why we're going to do that, because the cornerback play right now is down.
We have to separate it because they're two very distinct positions.
Yes, I understand, Berm.
Not because of how they've been playing.
Well, yes and no. A secondary works
we can agree
in
to
concert.
Disagree. Anyhow, what's your choice?
Global. The cornerbacks are down.
Orchestrator.
Cameron Brown is playing at a very high level, but Denzel Burke has not come remotely close to the expectations, and Jordan Hancock has not played a single snap. So that unit is dealing with injuries. It's thin. It has not been as productive as Ohio State would have wanted at this point. Yeah. And we've talked about that plenty. I mean, that's just the situation right now. Denzel Burke was out in the Woody early again on Tuesday trying to get more work. We know that he's taking it seriously and not happy himself with the way it's going. But, the results at this point are pretty obvious.
Happy is as Happy does. And it seems like Happy is trying to remedy the issue. So I appreciate Denzel doing that. I think it's a good step for Ohio State. It's a good sign for Ohio State. But again, until this unit has more healthy players that can contribute, I don't think that you could possibly say it's up. I like what I've seen out of J.K. Johnson. He did get kind of burnt one time against Toledo where the ball was overthrown. But other than that, you play corner, it's going to happen sometimes. You can't. And Jalen Ramsey gets burned a lot, right? And he's like, Trayvon Diggs for Dallas had 11 picks as a rookie and gave up more yards than anybody in the NFL. So you have to deal with that at that position. But yeah, corner is down.
Down, yeah.
Down.
Safety's up though, right?
SDD.
Safety definitely doing this. Yeah.
It's like the inverse of corner. Corner is like lack of production, lack of depth. You go, oh boy, that's not good. Safety is like they're productive and they have way more depth than I think anyone anticipated them having going into this year. The fact that Josh Proctor and Tanner McAllister can't play a game, and we're just like, okay, like it's time for Lathan Ransom and Cameron Martinez to do something, and they both play well.
They did, yeah.
Lathan steps in for Josh in the Notre Dame game and plays exceptionally well. So it's a really solid position for them. If this is the most important position in Jim Knowles' defense, I think he's getting what he wants out of them to this point.
Yeah. I mean, there's no arguing. I talk a lot, so I'm just going to go, yep.
A thumbs up. We're not going to do the specialists, are we?
Sure we are.
Up.
Jesse Mirko's way freaking up.
Yeah.
The return game's not up.
The return game isn't even, it's NA. I think that stock is off the board at this point. But Jesse Mirko's way up. I mean, he's been a game changer.
Yeah.
From down under, like he's drilling it. I mean, that punt against Toledo on Saturday was incredible.
And his swag afterward, like he just put that thing in the coffin corner, just turned to the sidelines, like, you see that? Yeah. Just like stared at the crowd. It was great.
Yeah,
I love it.
All right.
It was like 8 a.m. in Australia when that happened too. That's what makes
Good morning, Australia. Here's a bomb.
Get out your Play-Doh and make a statue
of Jesse Mirko statue. Other than that, Noah Ruggles has missed the first kick of the year, but hasn't been asked to do much, but he's made them. Jaden Fielding has been a surprise. I mean, it's a guy who's a preferred walk-on kicker at Ohio State who, as a true freshman, comes in and is their kickoff guy, is kickoff specialist on the first game of the year. That's a step. That's a big moment. And Bill and I talked about it the other day. Like, he's got one job: put it out of the end zone. So as long as you're doing that and keeping it in bounds.
But that's not actually his job every time.
I think it is. I don't think this is Urban's.
I think Ryan Day's preference is to kick that thing out of the end zone.
I don't think this is Urban Meyer's kickoff scheme.
He's not doing it every time, but there are times that they are not asking him to do that, and they want to cover because they have enough athletes to pin people inside the 20.
Yeah, I think. Do you guys think that rule change is like the worst thing that's ever happened in college football?
It was pretty weird.
The fair catch rule?
Yeah,
it's pretty dumb.
I don't like it. Change it,
America.
NCAA rule changes.
Down.
Stock down. Anyway, that's been a Wednesday Stock Report on the Podcast Daily. We hope you enjoyed it. It was weird, and you should come to expect that as well.
But there's a lot more weird stuff coming on the podcast daily, or the podcast on Wednesday. We have Buckeye Q with Zach Bourne breaking down the breakdowns against Toledo, and then we'll have me and Austin will be doing some snappy J's from post practice. Billiam will be gone. He's going to take off to go home for a day or two, but he won't be, there. We'll be there. You'll be there.
And we'll see you there. That's Bill Berm. I'm Austin. Bye-bye.